Folks, ladies and gentlemen of America, as we said earlier, we have a gentleman by the name of Jason Weber joining us now, and Jason is doing some great things. I had the privilege of talking to Jason on a couple of occasions prior to him appearing on this show tonight, and my hat's off to this young man who's making a difference, who believes in justice, the minister of justice, and fighting for justice. And we're going to bring him on now and get his thoughts. And Jason, a pleasure to have you tonight. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Lamont. Thanks for having me. And I really, enjoyed what Tom you had to say and what you had to say, and you guys were spot on. We have major problems in this country, and you can start with the fact that we have, in 2009, law enforcement officers arrested about 2.5 million juveniles.
Wow.
And the problem is we're building prisons, not schools. We're not offering these juveniles alternatives to incarceration, incentive to get better, ways to improve themselves. Instead, we're just taking the easy way out. We're opening up the cell and throwing them in and locking the key.
No, I agree with you, Jason, on that. I understand here that I guess you were born and raised in Detroit. Not the,
yes.
No disrespect to, but you've come up in some situations in life that I would presume, which contributes to the passion that you have in fighting for justice. What kind of got you going in dealing with this passion of yours inwardly that caused you to do the work that you do now?
That's actually a very simple answer. I was caught in a situation where, granted, it was not a serious charge, but I was caught in a situation where I was basically coerced into a plea bargain, pleading to a DUI. This made me look much more into the system, and the more and more I researched into the system, the more and more I found so many fundamental flaws. And so I started working with a group of activists out of nearby Detroit, Ann Arbor. And I just decided I wanted something more formal, more organizational, and that's when, a little over a couple of years ago, we started forming the National Center for Due Process.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So as a result of you being dealt with, I would say unjust, it calls you to seek for answers. As you begin to seek for them.
No.
Go ahead.
I would say my passion for due process, goes even before that. Lamont, that might have been the final nail in the coffin, if you will, but my passion for due process has been really since my college days at Cornell University.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now it says here the National Center for Due Process, that is your organization. It says the National Due Process is a young, tech-savvy, aggressive, and ambitious nonprofit organization dedicated to criminal justice policy change. And I think that's what stands out to me, that you're looking to bring change to an existing system that apparently is showing that it doesn't work. I believe it says here that the United States has only 4.4% of the world's population, yet we warehouse an alarming 25% of the world's prisoners, locks up 700 people per 100,000, which is at least 700% greater than most other democratic nations. Those statistics are alarming. I mean, those statistics...
They really are.
You want to speak to that?
They really are, and one out of 4 people in America will be somehow adversely affected by the American criminal justice system, and that is obviously higher for some demographics than others. But we feel there are fundamental flaws in our system, a number of them, and we blog about them on our website. As a matter of fact, you and I, when we talked about one of the fundamental flaws, that being the felony murder statute that 46 of our states have. And I actually have a gentleman in Boulder who is 18 years old. He has a verbal comprehension IQ of 51. Now, he was with a gentleman who took a baseball bat and murdered someone. So the prosecutor out of Boulder, Mr. Finn, decided to throw a felony murder charge on Luke Pelham, P-E-L-H-A-M, stating that he was actually there to be involved in a robbery, which there was no circumstantial or no physical evidence to suggest.
Okay. Okay. Now, Jason, we got notification that there was a young lady that wanted to come on and share a few minutes with us in regards to something that's happened with her kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was calling from a 970 number.
Okay. Let's see. I think we may have her. Let's go ahead and bring her on.
Yes, we have Terry from Boulder. Are you with us, Terry?
I am, thank you.
Okay, go ahead and give us a little bit of your background. Let the audience know who you are, and then you can go ahead and get into things.
Well, I'm the mother of Luke Pelham, as well as his court-appointed guardian, because he is considered an adult with disabilities. And from the beginning of this case, we've been told to remain silent because the attorneys did not want us to fight this case in the media. The result of that is that all there is bad, misinformed media. So my son, who he had a hypoxic birth, he ceased and had to be resuscitated, was put into an oxygen tent, caused some miscellaneous brain damage. And then a short while after that, we found out that he has Klinefelter syndrome, which is an additional X chromosome, which does all kinds of things to your comprehensive language, your receptive language, your expressive language. And so I spent 18 years working specifically with him on expressive language so he wouldn't stand out so much. And now, because he can express himself, I have a judicial system that says if he can talk, he's normal. So he was friends with the victim. I assume that the other person was as well, but my son and the person who committed the crime had only met a couple of days before. And my son was already on his way to the victim's house when he encountered this other gentleman who told him a tale about hitting some girl, which my son didn't believe right away, and said that he would ask him about it when he got there. The other guy decided to come along. So they went. My son went upstairs, had a chat with his friend. The other guy stayed outside, and my son just never brought it up. He just didn't believe that the victim in this case would do that. So he just let it go. And he went down the stairs, and when the other boy asked him, "Did you ask him what did he say about XYZ, the girl?" My son responded, "I didn't bring it up," which irritated the other individual. So the other individual set a golf club down next to my son and said, "If things go bad, you better have my back." And the one step I'm missing is, as my son was coming down the stairs, he was calling a mutual friend of theirs who he had also picked up her guitar from that location to tell her he was on her way to his house when his phone died. So he's standing at the bottom of these stairs. He doesn't think like the rest of us do in the first place. And he's looking at the situation now like, wait, what? And the other individual goes up the stairs, and Luke notices that when he reaches the top of the stairs, he had a baseball bat. So he knocked on the door, and this other person, also knowing Aaron, was allowed in. And a few moments later, my son began hearing what appeared to be an altercation. And he tried to call 911. His cell phone was dead, and he froze. And that's what he does. He has anxiety attacks when he gets put under pressure. He's been bullied his entire life, and he has never fought back ever, not even for himself. He puts his hands over his face, and he just takes the beating. He's naive. He thinks everyone is his friend, and one of the biggest problems is he doesn't recognize social cues properly like you and I do, like anger, happy, sad, mad. So here he is in a panic and not knowing what to do, when the kid comes down the stairs and walks up to him with a very bloody baseball bat, which set my son into a level of panic that my son has never known. So my son is trying to make excuses to get away from this person while they're walking away for fear of his own life. And finally he said, oh, well, I have to go back to Aaron's, thinking that would be a way to get away from the individual who committed this. Well, the other individual was smarter than my son, and he knew the condition of the victim, whereas my son did not. So he didn't buy it, and he followed him. And they went back to the apartment. The other gentleman opened the door. My son saw his friend's feet on the floor and sent him into a further panic. He closed the door from the outside and tried to leave again. and the other individual came down with stolen objects that he had taken from the victim. And my son continued to try to make excuses to get away from this person. He was afraid if he ran, that this kid would kill him, and if he didn't find him, he would go to the girl with the guitar's house and hurt her or lie in wait for him. So when he finally did get away from this individual, he went straight to her house, called the police. He doesn't remember addresses or phone numbers, so he had to have the police pick him up, and they took him to the scene. He showed them where it was, and for this, my son got charged with felony murder because his friend died 8 days later.
Oh, with no one to corroborate his story. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
You said the young man that passed away, he died 8 days later?
Right, 8 days later.
Okay, so...
Yeah,
Now, the person who committed this crime has told the police all along that he's confessed over and over. He's admitted to them that my son was not in the apartment. He did not participate. He had no direct connection to the assault or the death of Aaron, and yet the prosecution persists. And
Okay.
they claimed that they had evidence, but when the evidence came back from the crime lab, it came back clean against my son. And so I don't even know. Charges should have been dropped,
Sure.
but they
Now,
were not.
is your son still in custody right now?
He is. Actually, he's been forced to take a plea bargain because felony murder, the jury, the way I understand it, the jury will be instructed to find that he was there, which we know he was because he called the police, and that he knew that the other individual may have reason to be angry with the victim, which obviously he did, and that he was still there. So, I mean, that the prosecutor can turn that into assistance before, during, and after.
Question, Jason. Excuse me, Jason. Your thoughts on this? What exactly is the battle plan now? Has he signed the plea agreement, Jason?
Well, Lamont, can I back up just a second here and say
Sure.
that I feel, I mean, it's part of my organization's belief that a lot of the problems that we're experiencing today started with the Comprehensive Crime Control Act of 1984, which, as a nonpartisan organization, I must say, the first time tough on crime was stated in a State of the Union address was 1980. Shortly thereafter, we have the Comprehensive Crime Control Act of 1984. Now, what that did is that made our modern-day mandatory minimums, our modern-day sentencing guidelines, and this gives prosecutors enormous powers. And Lamont, I cannot understate this enough. Prosecutors' powers are burgeoning; they're out of control, and in this particular case, with Luke Pelham, that's a perfect example. The prosecutor basically said, look, either you go for felony murder, and I can say you robbed an Xbox, and then you'd be found guilty and go to prison for life, or accept this 35. It's wrong, and that's why I say all the time we have a coerced plea bargain epidemic. As a matter of fact, over 95% of state cases, over 97% of federal cases are resolved through behind-the-scenes, non-transparent, coerced plea bargains, which is the exact opposite of what Americans think when they watch CSI.
No, absolutely. And let me first say, Jason, thanks to Terry for calling in, for sharing her story with us. In regards to this injustice, Terry, thank you so much, and we applaud your courage to continue fighting for justice for your son. And we will also do what we can on this end to seek justice as well. And I think, Jason, as a part of getting that message out, and the fact that Terry was able to tell that to our listeners that are listening to this program across the country, that is very troubling. That this would happen to a young man who she is stating, and correct me if I'm wrong, that has some limitations in as far as communicating, and to be in a situation like that. We talked about that with Tanya and Liz. We understand what happens to an adult who are faced with these challenges of an arrest and a wrongful prosecution and all the stuff that comes with being just targeted. This young man has challenges, from what I heard her, if I heard her correctly, as far as communicating. Correct. And these things that are going on. This is something that cannot continue to happen. What are you doing as an organization, Jason, as you go forward to fight this? And you're apparently working on this case now. How is it looking without you? I know you can't go too much in detail about the case. How is it looking now, though, as you go forward? What steps are taken? Have we contacted people on Capitol Hill in regards to this? Some congressmen, senators? What's going on with that?
Right now, we're currently seeking counsel out of the Denver/Boulder area who has the audacity to go against, Prosecutor Finn and withdraw a plea bargain and, try to start anew. But it's an uphill climb, no doubt about it. But we feel there are a bevy of appellate issues, if we cannot resolve things in the next 5 weeks when he's sentenced.
Oh, my goodness. So he has taken the plea, apparently, right, Jason?
Well, yeah, he pretty much had no choice other than go to life in prison. So it's part of that, Lamont, that coerced plea bargain epidemic. As a matter of fact, there aren't many organizations that research into this, but of the couple I know of, anywhere between 6 and 8% of people who have accepted plea bargains are not guilty. And of the ones who do accept them, they're the sentences are way too lengthy. And Lamont, Liz asked a question earlier, before I was on, and she asked, somebody must be benefiting from this. And my answer to that would be yes, the prison lobby. That includes prisons, correctional officers unions, politicians, and let's not forget, America is the only industrialized democracy I'm aware of where judges and prosecutors are actually elected politicians. So there are a ton of people, what we call the elite 2%, who are profiting off this prison industrial complex, and the other 98% are suffering.
The sad part about it, Jason, as I listen to you talk, we're talking about kids that we wonder, you got elementary, you have middle school, you got high school, you got college, and then you have life or careers. What it seems to be that I'm hearing through the conversation tonight, from what you've said, from what Terry said, from what Liz and Tanya said, we have a K through 12 school to prison pipeline here, that we're graduating from elementary school, we're going to middle school for crime, then we're going to high school, and we wonder why we have the largest incarceration rate in the United States, around the world. And this is unbelievable. It's something America needs to be paying attention to. Jason, what are steps going forward that we do to save our kids?
Lamont, continue to do what you're doing. I mean, A Just Cause is doing a great job. We plan on doing, a lot of the things you're doing, but we have to make Americans aware, the other 98% aware. Too many people listen to these politicians on TV. They say we're the leader of the free world. Everybody wants to come to America. They don't realize we have the incarceration nation.
Incarceration nation.
That's it. That's America. That's our name.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason. Go ahead. Did you have something?
25% of the world's prisoners, and so we are the incarceration nation. And I can cite you rates from countries all over the world on 6 different continents that have much lower incarceration rates than we do, and it's not even close. And too many people don't know this. The elite 2% doesn't want to know this, doesn't want us to know this. And I'll tell you who is part of that elite 2%. Of that prison lobby, you need a voice to convince Americans that what is going on is the right thing. So what do? We have Nancy Grace's, we have, we have these crime-otainment TV. Let's face it, if it bleeds, it leads. So we have the other 98% being scared, constantly scared, when they should be informed. And that's the job of my organization and A Just Cause, and I'm sure there are others.
All right, Jason, we got a couple of minutes on the other side of this break. Can you come on back with us? And I want folks to get an opportunity to get contact information for you. Can you hang with us for a few minutes on the other side of this break, and we'll have you give you information out to America in regards
Absolutely.
to what you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of America, I tell you what, Right now, it is 20 minutes till 10 o'clock in New York City on the East Coast of America. Right now, it is 20 till 8 here in Colorado Springs. The rain is falling, but understand down there in New York and in Florida, calm and peaceful. Tonight, we've learned something that gives the thought of a coming storm that needs to be addressed. I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, that storm has arrived. And Jason Weber is someone out here trying to make a difference. Terry gave us some information very troubling in regards to what's going on in the system right now with her son, who has, according to you, Jason, has basically been forced to sign a plea deal. And this is all in reference to what we believe the pipeline, school to prison pipeline that's going on in this country right now. I think it's something that we're definitely addressing. So, ladies and gentlemen of America, tonight is getting away from us as you wind down the evening from a long day, whatever you're involved in and whatever you're doing. We thank you for joining some time with us. We're coming back with Jason. He's going to give his contact information to America, that we can join hands together. It takes a village to make a difference. Let's come together as a nation and bring change. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, no other program has been more important than the program of dealing with our kids. And we need to address that issue. I'm Lamont Banks. This is AJC Radio along with Sam Thurman, Lisa Stewart, Cliff Stewart. Wrap it up, whatever's going on at home. We're coming back to close out and tuck America to bed tonight. We'll be right back with you. This is AJC Radio, bringing the message of justice all around the world. We'll be right back.
The racial composition of the prison population in the United States is very different from the population at large. If people are worried about inequality in America today, I think this deserves more attention in the discussion. Racial inequality in the criminal justice system gets ignored because it doesn't affect most people. In 2010, over 1.6 million people were in state and federal prisons within the United States. So, 497 out of every 100,000 Americans were in jail. About half of 1%. Less than 1%. That doesn't seem very large, but when you separate that population by race, you recognize that the personal effects of the criminal justice system are very unequally shared throughout our society. Whites make up 64% of the total population, but only 31% of the incarcerated population. Blacks represent 14% of society, but 36% of the prison population. Hispanics are 16% of America, but 24% of the American prison population. Less than 1 in 100 Americans are currently in jail, but for some races, genders, and age groups, that ratio is a lot larger. For example, if you're young, black, and male, it's closer to about 1 in 4. That means you'd have a higher probability of going to jail than of getting married or going to college. These results are unequal and problematic, as poor black communities lack so many of their members. But what can be done? The causes of this trend are undoubtedly complicated and multi-causal. But there is reason to suggest that part of the blame is our criminal justice system itself. In the ways police officers enforce laws, in the ways that laws are written and prosecuted, and more. In many cases, it is not overt racism by individual actors. Many police officers, prosecutors, and judges are undoubtedly trying to be fair and trying to do the right thing. But economics can explain how unequal enforcement of the criminal law happens anyway. This is because the political and bureaucratic structure of the criminal justice system creates perverse incentives. The formal laws surrounding drug prohibition, for example, are written as if to be colorblind. But people with different levels of wealth face different costs and benefits to participating in the drug trade. Different groups consume different drugs at different rates, and lastly, those groups are politically represented in very different quantities. Thus, they are arrested and incarcerated at very different rates. How could minority groups hope to use the political process to fix inequality when they are systematically over-incarcerated and disenfranchised? Despite noble intentions, politics often does not affect the basic incentives of costs and benefits faced by political or citizen actors. We might need a new approach to social change if we are going to address these problems. We definitely need more study into the causes of inequality, and we should admit that radical changes might be both necessary and preferable to the status quo.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you hear that tone, we are in the jungle, and I guarantee you, for this battle, you better have the eye of the tiger to fight this battle. And I tell you what, someone that's got the eye of the tiger tonight that's making a difference, Mr. Jason Weber, coming back with us on this program. And I tell you what, Jungle is putting it mildly, as we address the fight for our children and issues with juveniles in this country being targeted as a result of a judicial system that has failed. Jason, welcome back to the program tonight.
Hi, Lamont. If I could, I just want to mention, what we do is we highlight cases where we can see legally documented cases of injustice. For instance, I've got two teenagers out of the Sarasota, Florida area. One of them, his defense attorney flat out said he was not prepared for trial, so the prosecutor said, okay, well, if you're not prepared for trial, get ready to do a life sentence or accept this 35-year plea bargain, same amount of years. And I got another, that's Stephen Castaneda. We are still collecting funds for him to pay for his appellate counsel. And I got another teen, Joshua Swartz, who was sentenced to 15 years for basically possession of drugs. And, you know, Castaneda was 17, Joshua Swartz was 18. And you can find these all on our website, which is nationalcdp.org.
Okay.
That's national as in Center Due Process, nationalcdp.org. And our Facebook, Twitter, everything is /nationalcdp. So we're pretty easy to find that way.
Okay, and is there a number, Jason, can they reach a main office, or is this the best way through the email and website? Is that the best way to get a hold of you?
No, our office number is 877-288-3260, or we have a contact form on our website, or contact@nationalcdp.org, or you can call our office at, like I said, 877-288-3260.
Okay, and Jason, that information we will post at ajcradio.com, where folks can go in and listen to this program that we have played tonight, that aired tonight, You can go there at our website starting tomorrow and actually hear this program. And Jason, we will do everything we can. We've had the privilege of communicating via Twitter. The social media, man, is the way to go, and appreciate the opportunity in meeting you, talking to you, and sharing the same vision. And that is to bring justice to a nation that has gone out of control. And I want to thank you for taking some time tonight out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us in America tonight to share what you do. We'd love to have you back on the program in the future. We'd like to have that if you accept that invitation from us.
Absolutely, Lamont. I would love to. I love what a just cause stands for. I love what you guys are doing. I don't think if I made that clear, but our Facebook is just facebook.com/nationalcdp, as is our Twitter, twitter.com/nationalcdp. And I would love to continue to work with you. And if you'd ever like me on again, I'd love to be a guest again. I really do appreciate it.
No, Jason, and we appreciate you as an administrator of justice. Thanks for joining us tonight, and have a great evening. Stay safe out there, okay?
Thanks, Lamont. Thank you very much. You too.
All right.